Hello, Den family. It's Andrea. I am here coming live with my monthly update on news and what's happening and trying to give you some updates. So if you do hop on the live and would like to ask questions, or even if maybe you're watching this on a replay later, feel free to post questions and I'd be happy to answer them as we go. We've definitely realized in the Den, one of the big questions that people kind of have is thoughts on how to find deals in today's market. So I'm going to go through a handful of different things, and again, definitely feel free to ask questions. Hi Floyd, how are ya? Again, thanks for tuning in, thanks for being here, and I'll try to give you some insights of what I'm doing today to find deals in my market. And I do deals in a handful of different markets every month, so I kind of have a handful of different attacks and things that I do consistently. And that's one thing that I'm going to really emphasize as I go through this live is you have to do things consistently. If you try something once and it doesn't work, you kind of have to try it multiple times to really make things happen. Hi Karen. Again, make sure that you are consistently doing something. Give it a full go through a few times before you throw it out. Sometimes you just have to tweak things a little bit to see how things work. So I'm going to start with traditional and then I'm going to get to more creative. So traditionally, one thing I truly believe, if you are a wholesaler or really an investor of any sort, I personally think it's kind of silly to ignore the MLS. The MLS is where people go to sell their properties. It's where people put their houses on the market where they say, hey, yeah, I actually do want to sell my house. So are they always motivated? No, but they actually are for sale. So my belief is if you are an investor, you should be working the MLS. Now, it shouldn't necessarily be your full scope of your investing focus, but it's something that you should be doing consistently every week. So my advice to you is if you are, especially if you're a wholesaler, if you are not making at least 5 deals every single week via the MLS, you're not really trying to wholesale. And again, not everybody will agree with this. It's just what I've kind of found to be the case. That's the easiest way for you to get your offers out there is through the MLS by attacking deals that are on the market today. So make sure that you are utilizing the MLS to go after your deals. So what I do is I go look for properties that need work, properties that are vacant, properties that hopefully have sat for a little bit, and I make 5 offers in each market every single week through my real estate agent. Really, that takes me maybe an hour's worth of time, and it takes my agent about an hour's worth of time. That's something that we can do every single week that should not, be out of range, like, oh my gosh, it's all this in time that I'm wasting on it. It's something that I'm investing my effort into. So to me, that's important. So again, I definitely encourage you to be doing that. Also, track your offers. More often than not, definitely more often than not, you are going to hear that you are going to get no's. Absolutely, you're going to get, and I will talk on, your buyer's want. I'm going to talk on that in a little bit. So one thing I will say is track your offers. You're going to get no's, but what I want you to pay attention to is, did you actually get a no because it went to somebody else, or did you get a no just because they're not motivated enough yet? And what I do is I watch those. Every 3 to 4 weeks, I go back and I see if all those houses are still on the market. And if they're still on the market, I offer on them again. A lot of times, they just weren't motivated enough yet. So a lot of the MLS houses that I'm getting today are houses that I've made 2, 3, maybe 4 offers on. So again, this is something that I encourage you to do is offer again and again and again. Now, personally, I don't change my offers because, frankly, I have already ran the numbers and the market hasn't changed that much in 3 to 4 weeks. Like, the market is what it is. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm, just paying attention to where things are. If things have fluctuated at all, I can change my offer, but for the most part, I found for my agent, it's easier if I don't change my offer as well. They can, pretty much change nothing but the dates. The dates or the time frame for my contract, and it makes life easier for them if they're going to re-offer on a property. So first and foremost, I will say do not ignore the MLS. Now, to Floyd's point, he says buyers here in Jackson, Florida say they want properties off market. Now, there's a couple theories behind that. Now, one, people will say that because they don't believe there's any good deals on the MLS. Well, That's true and that's not true. A lot of the houses that are listed on the MLS at the price they're listed, they are not a good deal. I am not offering list price on the MLS. I am running the numbers to make it into a deal. And the key is being able to convince that seller to sell me at a deal. And I will tell you, I have plenty of buyers here in Denver, in Minneapolis, in St. Louis that tell me they don't necessarily want deals off the MLS. And the reasoning always is because nothing's a good deal there. Well, the reality is you can make something a good deal by the numbers. And I have not had any buyers turn me down on deals just because they came from the MLS, if the numbers truly make sense. Again, I'm not offering what the houses are listed for. And a lot of the different training that Gina and I have, we go into a lot of detail on how to run numbers on houses, so I don't want to spend a lot of time here. What I'm saying is if you truly lock up something that's a good deal, I don't think your buyers are going to care where it comes from. However, right now with the MLS, people are not finding good deals. And the reason being is because what things are listed at is too close to retail price. And so at its current list price and even discounted a little bit, it doesn't make sense. But if you can take a chunk off of that so the numbers make sense, it can be a good deal. Additionally, people are struggling because they're not finding realtors that are wanting to make these offers. And my number one advice to you is when finding the right agent is, a lot of people say, well, get somebody who's investor friendly, somebody, you know what, that's great. Honestly, I want somebody who's hungry. I a lot of times will like somebody who's new and isn't jaded and willing to do whatever it takes. They don't have these long standing relationships with other realtors and they're willing to put in the offers that I'm giving them. So again, that's my advice. First thing is if you're truly a wholesaler and you are ignoring the MLS, you're ignoring the low hanging fruit. And again, I understand that people say that they want things off market, but it's because they're not finding deals on the MLS that's a good deal. But if you can turn it into a good deal, I'm pretty sure they'll take it. Now, beyond that, there's a lot of other things you can do. The issue is all the other things that you're going to do are going to become time intensive, energy intensive, financially intensive. To find off-market deals, a lot of this does require money. Okay, so here are some different strategies that I utilize to try to be most efficient. While talking about the MLS, if you're utilizing an agent that you have a good rapport with, I ask them to send me expired listings, houses that didn't sell that are no longer listed on the MLS. Send me those listings. I can look up who the owner is and start sending them letters directly to see if they'd be willing to sell me their house. Another thing that I do is I spend a lot of time on Craigslist. I love Craigslist. Craigslist is kind of a space where you can invest a lot of time and not always get a lot of results, but my favorite thing about it is it's free for the most part, If you're posting ads or if you're following up with other people that are posting ads, that universe is free. So I spend a lot of time looking for landlords on Craigslist. So how I do that is I go through the for rent ads. So it's under housing and it's under apartments. It's kind of the category that rentals are under for looking for landlords. And I just start going through the listings and I look for any of them that don't look like they were done by a professional real estate company. If there's not, broker's licensing information, or there's not, a logo for some sort of property management company, something along those lines. Those are the people that I start reaching out to. And I just send them an email, give them a call saying, hey, I see your property's for rent. Would you ever consider selling it? So that's another strategy that I utilize to see what I can get. Again, sending emails and making some calls does not take that much time. And so I try to every week sit down and go through the latest listings for rent. And the reason why I think this sometimes works is those landlords, after a tenant's moved out and they've just finished fixing up the property again, and anybody that is a landlord, after you've had a tenant moved out, there's always some sort of work that needs to be done to get it rent ready again. People burn out a little bit. People get a little burnt out, they get a little fried, they're not, not thrilled with having to start over again to potentially have this property destroyed. And it's a really prime time I found to find a tired landlord is at the releasing point. So again, another great opportunity for you to reach out to them. Another bonus to this is sometimes I get somebody who says, actually I don't want to sell the property. I love this property. I wish I had 5 more. great, now I have a buyer and a pretty good idea of what their criteria is to go look for additional properties. So somebody I can add to my list as a buyer if I'm wholesaling. So again, that's another strategy that I utilize. Some more creative things that I do is I spend a lot of time looking for, okay, what do you say if you're asked if you're qualified or want some proof of funds if you say you're a cash buyer? You know, honestly, I rarely say I'm a cash buyer. I pull any of the generic proof of funds letters that I can. Most of the time when I am doing this, I will say, even when I'm making an offer through the MLS, I don't make the offer cash. I just say that there's no financing contingency. And that kind of leaves the door open for me to do hard money, private money, even traditional financing, as long as I can still close it within 30 days. I always give myself 30 days to close the property, but I don't always say that it's going to be cash. I just say that there's no financing contingency. And so what that means is that I can't walk away from the deal and get my earnest money back based on financing alone. I already have that inspection contingency, which I usually give myself 7 to 10 days. And I usually know if I can't move a property in 7 to 10 days, so I don't feel like I need additional contingencies in there. So again, if somebody needs a proof of funds letter, I pull proof of funds letters. Luckily, my husband and I have a lot of savings and money in IRAs, so I can even pull an actual proof of funds from like our self-directed IRA account that shows what kind of funding that we have available there that'll cover most of the deals we'd want to do anyway. But there's tons of proof of funds sites. In the Den, Carol has several of them listed out there. One that I've used quite often is besttransactionalfunding.com. Really simple to get a proof of funds there, and that works fairly well for that aspect. Other more creative things that I've done to do deals is reached out to local churches or nonprofits and found out if they have like church bulletins, websites, newsletters, anything where they do any advertising, and I see how much it is to do advertising space there. And what I found with a lot of like local churches and stuff, it's very, very affordable. You know, they might be able to put like a business size logo on their church bulletin that goes out, for the month, and it might cost $25, $100, something like that. And it reaches a wide range of people. And what I find cool about that is a lot of the people that say maybe are involved with a nonprofit or actively attending church are usually groups of people that are helping people, that people come to when they need help. And so when somebody needs help, they're going to be the type of person that knows when somebody's maybe going through a struggle, and they may know of a deal that really hasn't hit the market yet, and I just never know what I can get that way. So I try to do things like that. Every now and then I'll see if there's a way to like sponsor, breakfast at the church. A lot of times after church they might have a reception with donuts and muffins. Can I spend $50 and bring in donuts and muffins and be able to put my information out there and chat about real estate with people if they have questions? Absolutely. Do I always get a huge return for this? Not necessarily, but it is something that puts me in the community. So when somebody does have an issue in the future, you can get help. So again, that's another opportunity that I utilize to get creative deals. Now, another thing that many of you have maybe even noticed or tried recently is direct mail. Direct mail seems to be the latest, greatest thing out there, and there's nothing wrong with direct mail. Direct mail can be fabulous. Issues with direct mail is that, everybody kind of seems to be doing it, and it's pricey. Yeah, it's super expensive. And honestly, I have multiple rental properties in my personal home, so I get direct mail pieces like crazy. Now, I keep them all because I never know how I can work with them in the future. They might be a co-wholesaler I can work with, or maybe another cash buyer that I could pass along a property to and all that. So I definitely hang on to their information, but I feel like I'm inundated by these things, so I'm assuming a lot of other people are. So using that same approach where people kind of buy a list and send a mailer out, I do something similar, but mine's definitely, I think I have a better result with, from when I had mailers. I was lucky if I got like a 0.2% chance response from somebody. and that's not fabulous. So I always said once I could get a hold of somebody and actually start talking to somebody about their situation and circumstances, it probably improved to 1 out of 10, but just trying to get that person on the line is challenging. So a strategy that I've done that has been exceptionally effective for me, probably in the 3-4 percentile, which is, again, depressing stats, but in all reality, when it comes to direct mail, cold calling, things like that, it's actually great results, is I pull a list of people from a certain area. I utilize the website listsource.com, and I build a list. I spend a lot of time focusing on active adults, people who lived in a house for like 30 years that might be considering downsizing, or usually are in a position where they have lots of equity. If not, it's free and clear. So I focus on neighborhoods and communities that are very popular where I'm investing, and I pull lists of people. Now, mainly those lists are meant for mailing letters to. But what I do is I pull it out, I get that list, and then I spend some time. I have a membership with Spokio that most of the time, when you first sign up for it, maybe the first 3 months is a total of like $24 or $25, and then it's $25 a month after that. So for me, I pay that fee. I'm a member on that site, and what I do is I slowly start working through that list, and I look up the person's information. And usually when I look somebody up, I usually get maybe an email or two and a phone number or two. So I always send an email, and I start calling and texting people. I utilize this consistently every single week. I go after a group of people to get deals. So again, this is something that I'm doing. Cold calling's uncomfortable. But you know what? Texting and emailing is free. Am I going to get a huge response? No, it might only be 2, 3, 4%, you know? That's still discouraging. But other than paying for the list and paying for Spokio, it's really just time consuming. So definitely utilize that. I know something Carol has talked about in the past is going kind of either door knocking or delivering flyers. And I definitely do that on occasion whenever my kid and his buddies feel like they're short on some cash. We'll head over to a certain area. I'll have a bunch of flyers or letters that I've written out, and we stick them in people's door as we wander through the neighborhood, and then I go spend a ridiculous amount of money at Chipotle to feed teenage boys. But, you know, that's something that I've had a little bit of success with too. More often than not, I don't get a lot of success with actually leaving the letter, but as I'm going through leaving the letters, there's usually somebody in the neighborhood that happens to be out that I might be able to chat with, and might know of somebody, maybe not even in that neighborhood, that's going through a situation that I might be able to help. Some maybe more fun things that I do to find deals. Usually about once a month, my mother-in-law likes to go to Rummage Sales and things like that, so I usually volunteer once a month on a Friday or Saturday to kind of go drive for dollars. We go out and I try to focus on the estate sales. Anything that says estate sale is definitely on our radar of places that we're going to go. My mother-in-law is happy because there might be more collectible stuff or older stuff that's antique or something that she's been interested in, so she's excited about it, and I'm excited because I might actually get to talk to somebody that might be selling a house. And what's cool about that is I find that people are maybe out, getting ready for a rummage sale is exhausting. You know, for as much money as you make or as little money as you make, it's definitely exhausting. So going after somebody who's just prepped, getting ready for a rummage sale, they're usually pretty wiped out and willing to do some creative things. So this is a great opportunity for me to, casually ask, oh, so what are you doing with the house? What's the plan for the house? I see it's an estate sale. So, it's a great opportunity for me to say, oh, well, I would definitely be interested in finding out more when you're getting ready to sell. And a lot of times, again, that exhausted person who's doing all the work will follow up by saying, yeah, we're going to put it on the market, but, the bathroom's dated, it's got one of those seashell sinks, and we have to replace this, we have to replace that. It gives me that opportunity to kind of be empathetic, but also take advantage of the opportunity of them saying, hey, we want to sell the house, but we got to do all this stuff first. If I can alleviate that stress of having to throw more money at something before they sell it, if their end goal is just to get rid of it and then pay off the estate or whatever that may be, this is a great opportunity for me to introduce myself, let them know that I buy houses quickly, and that I could really make it go away in its current condition without them having to do any additional work can really be a lifesaver for these people. So, like I said, there's a multitude of things that you can do for your business to find deals that, whether they're on the market or not, go out there and utilize them. My best advice is whatever strategy you do, you have to consistently do it. So when it comes to me pulling that list from ListSource, I make 50 phone calls a week. People are like, I don't have time to do 50 phone calls. Well, honestly, making 10 phone calls a day, sometimes, if I get somebody on the phone or one or two people on the phone, that might take some time. But the reality is, honestly, I get a lot of voicemails. So you just have to keep after it. The sending emails takes almost no time at all. So you have to give yourself goals. And maybe 50 is too much for you. Maybe you're going to start with 20. Okay, that's great. But if you only start with 20, you might only get one person on the phone, or you might only have one conversation or an opportunity to make one deal. So push yourself to do more, especially if you're paying for those leads. If you're paying for those phone numbers, that list, all of that, utilize it and truly work it. So those are kind of some advices that I have for you. Again, if you have additional questions, please post them. I'm happy to address them and get you any more information that you want about finding deals. But I think what I really encourage you to do is sit down and come up with a strategy of what you're going to accomplish each week and then go after it. And make sure the things that you're accomplishing each week are things that are going to be kind of result oriented, that could actually lead to a deal. Plan out, I'm going to make X number of calls. If direct mail is your thing, I'm going to, send out this many letters. I'm going to make this many offers. I'm going to contact this many landlords. I'm going to reach out to either 2 new churches, 2 new nonprofits, whatever that may be. I'm going to make an approach to somebody. Other things that I encourage you to do too, the economy is starting to get to a point where it's not tipped yet, but things are starting to, especially in certain areas, struggle a little bit. So I start reaching out to the city and say, hey, building department, code enforcement, is there any houses out there that you guys are paying attention to that I should maybe pay attention to? Find out what the process is. Does the city take back houses? Is there a way to reach houses that way? That's definitely great. For direct mail, what's the best target market? It just definitely depends on your area. To narrow down who my direct mail is, and this is the same thing as if I'm cold calling or sending emails. Number one, I first zero in on the neighborhoods I like. Once I have certain neighborhoods that I like, or that I know my buyers love, or that I know that I want rentals in myself, or this great opportunity for me to do fix and flips in, I narrow down on the neighborhoods first. So I pick counties, zip codes, all of that first. And from there, I work into who it is that I'm attacking, who I'm focusing on. And I like to focus on, again, for me, I like active adults, people that are like 55 or better. I like people that have lived in the house for over 25 years. I like married couples, people that are maybe in a more stronger financial situation. Those are usually the people that I'm going after because I have a better chance of, number one, there being an opportunity for a deal because there's equity in it. Also, people ready for another stage of life. They might be willing to relocate because their grandkids live somewhere else, or they raised their family in this 3,400 square foot house and now it's just the two of us and them, and they're tired of stairs, and so an 1,800 square foot ranch sounds pretty good. So for me, that's kind of my plan of attack. I always start with, again, what do my buyers want, either in neighborhood or style, size of house, and then I work into the type of people. I know a lot of people have success with pre-foreclosures and things like that, and depending on your market, that can be an opportunity. There is some restrictions on that. In the state of Washington, you can't go after anybody that's a pre-foreclosure. If you actually solicit them, you can get in trouble. So it varies based on markets. There's lots of different caveats that people have used, but for me, I start with the neighborhood and style of house, and then I like people that I'm pretty sure have decent equity in a stable situation that might be looking for a life change. And I usually approach my conversations with them along that same way too, like, hey, are you ready for your next adventure? Something along those lines to truly kind of get the dialogue going as to maybe what I might be able to do to connect with them. So, yeah, good question. Is there other questions out there that anybody has about finding deals? The biggest thing I can say is consistency. Some people have great success with bandit signs. I have had terrible luck with bandit signs in Denver. I have no idea why, just really, really struggled. In St. Louis, I have great success with bandit signs. And I'm not really sure what it is with the different markets and why that works. But, I do exceptionally well with probably get at least a deal a quarter from a bandit sign in St. Louis. So it's interesting how different strategies work different places. And so that's why I try very hard not to blanket saying, if you're not doing this, then blah. The reality is you still need to work everything, but tweak things a little bit. And the things that do get you results, do more of. And the things that you've tried a few times, tweaked it a few times, and it didn't give you the results, sometimes it's all right to let it go. But make sure you gave it a fair shake before you abandon ship. So, again, just some pieces of advice for you there. Any other questions, concerns? One thing I will say, especially when you're doing the direct mail, email, cold call, definitely, if you're going to reach out to any of them, reach out to them all at about the same time. That brings a little bit more legitimacy to you. So if you're going to text somebody, call them and send them an email at the same time, it makes you seem like, oh, you're actually somebody that is focused on them, not just some person with a random phone number dial trying to reach somebody else, because people do get so many spam calls and things like that out there. If they got a missed call from you, a text message from you, and they also received an email, it makes them a little bit more curious that you have all of their information and more curious to follow up. So that definitely can help as well. Again, I'm not opposed to direct mail. I just know that it takes a lot of touches to get it successful. When I have had better success with direct mail, it's because I've done it in conjunction with bandit signs in an area. So if I'm hitting a certain zip code, I want to make sure there's bandit signs there. I'm going to do a mailer there 2 or 3 times, and then I might even pull a list and start making calls there. I do use Google Voice for that. I do, and again, right in the Google Voice system, I can text right from my Google Voice on my computer, which works pretty good. Elena, good question. Probates. Probates, I like probates fine. The issue that I have with probates is getting probate leads can be expensive. To actually get leads, you can buy leads, but here in Colorado, it's $500 per lead, meaning for each probate to pay for it, it costs money. If you have relationships with a estate attorney or something like that, that's a good opportunity for you, but they're a little bit harder to find. So that's why I kind of use the estate sale approach to find them instead, because that works really well. As far as different phone numbers other than Google Voice, there are a few other services out there. Most of them, like Grasshopper's one. There's a few other them out there, but most of them end up costing money. Google Voice is not bad. It's free. So again, one thing that I even did initially when I started doing investing was would go to Walmart and I'd get a pay-by-minute phone. Because honestly, if I pay for 100 minutes, I can reach a lot of people and send a lot of texts before I burn through those minutes. And it's a pretty easy process to do too. So I use that before I use Google Voice, and so again, those are options for you as well. A lot of times I forget and I just use my regular phone, and nothing horrible has happened. I try very hard not to put my personal phone number on a bandit sign on the side of the road, but if I'm calling somebody to get a deal, I have more often than not accidentally use my own phone number, and it's fine. Again, my big thing is I just don't want to put my personal phone number out for the world to see, but in all reality, with my access to Spokio, I realize the whole world has my phone number already anyway, so there's lots of possibilities out there. There's also different things you can use where you set up a call service and things like that, but one thing that I've really advocated for is not spending tons of money. I believe there's lots of things that you can do consistently without breaking the bank. I just truly believe that people don't need to spend a fortune to be successful. A lot of times, the reason why people throw more money at something is because they don't want to do the uncomfortable things. So they keep hoping that there's this one tweak that's going to make things less uncomfortable and things will just happen. And sadly, that's not how it works. Like I said, I think direct mail is a lot more comfortable than cold calling somebody. But I also found that the uncomfortableness of cold calling gets me more results than the direct mail, and the direct mail costs me a lot more money. So it's kind of figuring out what works for you. Kind of like when I was talking in the launch on the 1st, was determining really what resources you have. If you have time, cold calling, emailing is great. If you have money, then direct mail might not be a bad idea. What is it that your resources are, and what is it that your goals are, and then aligning your activities and actions and tasks to ensure that you're meeting those goals. So that's kind of my kind of approach to investing. I have found I don't really need to put much more than 15 hours into my business because I've discovered efficiencies. Once you get good at doing things, you spend a lot of time really zoning in and getting it done because you have other stuff to do. I'm president of a nonprofit that does affordable housing in Denver. We have almost 700 units of residents in Denver that we take care of. I'm president of my Kiwanis Club. I have all kinds of different, I'm on the board for an organization called Colorado Feeding Kids. We just packed 31,000 meals on Saturday. We've packed almost 7 million meals in the 12 years that it's been around. So, by making myself not as accessible or keeping myself busy, I've made it so that I can't stretch my activities out all day long and take however long I want to do it. I got to get stuff done because I have other responsibilities now. And that's kind of, I find important. I feel like sometimes people are almost better at investing when they have to do it part-time around the regular job and family. Whereas when people are like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to totally focus on that, they end up filling their day doing stuff, but not really achieving results. So again, it doesn't hurt to be busy. Just make sure that because you're busy, you're being effective with your time. So I definitely encourage people to know why you're doing things and have other priorities, because it's really important to have more in the world. And again, I didn't say that to be good. I said that partially because when I quit my job and I was doing real estate all day, every day by myself, not that I didn't have a social network, but I didn't go to an office every day, my kids at school, my husband's at work, the voices in my head got to me. Yeah, I went a little crazy because I didn't have human interaction. So what do you do when you need human interaction? You go out and say, okay, who needs help? And then once you say yes to one thing, next thing you know, you're doing one too many things. So, but it's good. It keeps me busy, it keeps me grounded, and it gives me kind of a purpose and a why to keep being better every single day. And I think it can help you push yourself better. And that's why I always jokingly I say, when you set your goals, make your goals about somebody else. Because it's easy to let you down, but it's hard to let other people down. And so again, my husband and I have to make contributions every year to these different organizations that I'm in. And so to do that, I need to make sure that I, am raising enough funds to be successful. So to make those contributions every year. So any other questions on finding deals? I hope based on what we talked about today, you can at least pick one or two strategies that you're like, okay, through the end of the year, I'm going to work this hard. And then we're going to evaluate where I am in January, and I'm going to tweak a couple things, and I'm going to work it hard again. But again, do what you're going to do consistently. And when things don't work out, readjust, be resilient, and keep after it. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a fabulous Wednesday. I do fun things too on Wednesday nights. My husband and I meet some friends at a brewery, and we do trivia. So I always joke to Carol that I'm not available on Wednesday nights. I am. I just have to do it early enough because I'm not missing out on my beer and trivia. So, again, I hope everybody has something good. Floyd, I'm excited to hear how the cold calling, texts, and emails go for you. Again, just keep after it. And it's funny, once you have a system, you'll be impressed at how much you can accomplish in a short period of time. So, again, feel free to post in the den, post questions. We'll be in there helping you out. And we definitely encourage you to keep pushing us to be better. And if you guys have any topics that you for surely want covered, again, I know Carol will get me on the schedule again soon to do another Facebook Live and share some knowledge of what's working for me, what's not working for me, and I'll be always honest with you about what I struggle with and what I have success with, and I look forward to talking to you all. Love you too, Elena. Bye, everyone.